Hello, I'm Walter Schwabe. I'm candidate for Ward 2 here in Strathcona County. And I'm standing on Jim Common Drive in front of one of two new roundabouts just implemented. You know, as we've been connecting with you residents throughout the community here in Ward 2 and listening to your concerns, we've been hearing a lot of frustration regarding traffic calming here in Ward 2, not only in Glen Allen, but here in Lakeland Ridge. And some of the questions or comments rather that are coming back to me and my team are things like the expense. We weren't consulted were some of the common themes that we're hearing at the door. And so I'm here to update you on some of the things that we're not only hearing about at the door, but also my plan, if I'm elected your councillor coming into this new council, what my plan would be for traffic calming or traffic issues here in Ward 2. So number one, I think we're very heavy on engineering, meaning the kind of implementations behind us, very expensive ones, we have no shortage of them here in Ward 2. But the perception, depending on who you talk to, is that either they're overbuilt or not needed, too expensive. Maybe we should have just put four-way stops in. I can get into that in a second. But there's a whole lot of misconception in terms of what the real need is here in terms of traffic speeds, volumes, and how do we address them. So with that in mind, I think communication's been the biggest issue thus far. The current level of involvement within our community has been quite low. The Jim Common exercise here in terms of survey and open houses totals 190 residents. However, this road services a whole lot more than that, and as well as the other traffic calming implementations in Glen Allen, we're talking about a whole lot of people that take those roads every day. And these implementations, which again are very expensive, heavily engineered, may not or should not be the first option. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I'm going to commit to you is, with my plan, is starting with community involvement. Number one on the list must be your involvement in how we make these decisions, your feedback, your ideas, your research and commitment. So, what does that mean? How can we do this differently? Well, last year I was part of a really cool volunteer team. We did something called Change Camp Strathcona. I encourage you to go to Facebook, search Change Camp Strathcona for some of the history of that particular volunteer-based project. I'd like to hold another Change Camp here in Strathcona, but this time the theme will be traffic. Let's get as many people together. You're going to love this unconference process. Everybody gets a chance to weigh in and present their issues or their ideas or their concepts if they would like. It's chosen by the people who show up on the day. Awesome amount of fun to be had and lots to learn. So community involvement also means, in my opinion, that we should have a citizen traffic committee for Ward 2. They would be responsible for communicating to residents on traffic issues specifically. That committee should be comprised of experts in traffic, experts in education related to traffic, and also residents. We should have a nice mix there that are very focused and passionate about traffic issues in our community so that they can stay on top of things. We should also have a speed watch team coming out of that committee that is committed again to going to the hot spots in our ward and watching those closely so that we can have some peer pressure on people who may not be following the law within our residential areas. I also believe in effective education. There are definitely folks that have some issues, you know, in their mind when they're approaching a roundabout and they're not exactly sure how to navigate these roundabouts. I believe that we need to have a little bit better education program put in place so that residents understand how to navigate these in tough road conditions in our winters, but also in the summer, so that we can all be safe around these roundabouts more effectively, and they can be confident as they navigate them. Enforcement. Well, absolutely. Enforcement is a part of this whole program. Having said that, it can't be the number one issue and only just give people tickets. The thing that we have to do, I think, is work with our RCMP and our peace officers to increase education, collectively working with people so that they understand why they should be doing the speed limit, how they should navigate. Like, let's talk about the stopping at stop signs recently. People were complaining about the 3-second rule and whether it was real or not, and is it valid or is it an actual law. Well, from my understanding is stopping completely so that the wheels do not roll, that's a complete stop. Not necessarily for 3 seconds. So we had some confusion there, but just come to a complete stop. Why would we want to do that? Well, obviously so we can check our surroundings, making sure that the pedestrians are identified and they can safely cross so that no accidents happen. By the way, you might be interested to know that there has only been, and this is still a tragedy, but one death within residential areas in the last 10 years in Strathcona County. I found that obviously a very sad statistic, but statistically speaking, it's actually low, which means that we have fairly safe streets in that regard. It's not to say there aren't accidents, but that's actually a positive stat, with the exception of that passing of someone there in that accident. All right, so enforcement. Yes, we do need enforcement, but I'd like to see the use of data. Now, we have driver feedback signs that let us know how fast we're going, and they are dispersed throughout the community. I'd like to see more of those in Ward 2. Here's why. They collect data. Let's collect that data that is already coming in, but let's display it publicly. One of the reasons that we have such frustration in Ward 2 around traffic calming implementations, not enough people were consulted. The perception is there's a massive problem, okay? Or the perception is we don't need them at all. So let's clear it up with real-time data. Part of what you'll learn about me is I have a deep experience, level of understanding and experience with open data and open government. In fact, I've worked with, interviewed, and spoken with some of the world leaders in open data and open government. And I want to bring that knowledge to this council coming up. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you've heard so far, on October 16th, please vote Walter Schwabe for your councillor in Ward 2. I would be really happy and excited and honored to serve you over the next 4 years as your councillor here in Ward 2. Thank you very much. From Jim Common Drive, I'm Walter Schwabe.